My name is Anshu Sharma. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Skyflow. So I think what's amazing is fintech is really transforming how financial services are provided to lots of people from all categories and classes, but still too hard. It's just too hard for the consumer to trust some of these newer brands. It's too hard for consumers to know their data is going to be safe when they're giving it to these companies. I think there's a multi-trillion-dollar opportunity. If you see the growth of companies like Stripe and Apple, it's just mind-boggling how big they've grown in just a handful of years. So the question for the industry is, how can we all do that? So I think the way companies like Apple, Stripe and others have been able to innovate so fast is because they've been able to build an architecture and use a set of technologies that allows them to preserve our privacy. Without solving the fundamental problem of privacy, we can't really expect billions of consumers out there to trust us with their most important data. These are their retirement accounts. These are their children's 509 college tuition accounts. These are literally their life savings that they're trusting to an app. And I think we worry a lot about the user experience. We worry a lot about, hey, is it one click to buy a stock on Robinhood or 2 clicks? But what we really need to think about is how do we earn, retain and build on the trust that some of the consumers have shown us. The first 100 million consumers are not the same as the next billion. And to get the next billion users, we all have to be a little bit more like Apple. Apple has been investing for years and years in privacy-preserving technology at every layer of the stack. They use the secure enclave technology, they use privacy-preserving homomorphic encryption. They have really rebuilt the tech stack that banks never were able to put together, and therefore they've been moving so fast. And for us at Skyflow, we've been asking the question, what if everybody had access to a similar set of technologies? That requires a lot of investment, a lot of rethinking of just fundamentally how we think about privacy. Let me give you an example. We all file our taxes once a year. You probably use something like TurboTax. Do you realize every time you sign up for TurboTax, you give them your social security number, you give them your date of birth, you give them information about how much you make, and how often do they need that information? Well, once a year, because that's when they send the information to the IRS. In fact, they don't really need that information. They're just calculating your tax rate. In an ideal world, there would be this privacy-preserving technology so that TurboTax prepares your tax form, and super magically, with zero knowledge proofs, they could assert to the IRS, hey, Anshu Sharma has paid his taxes and here's the payment. In fact, the payment company also doesn't necessarily need to know who I am if they can make the payment happen without knowing much about my identity. Again, things that are not sci-fi, things that pieces and parts are being implemented at companies like Apple, Netflix, and Goldman Sachs. We just have to commercialize that. Skyflow was based on a very simple idea. All these amazing companies like Apple, Netflix, Goldman Sachs have teams of dozens of engineers working on only one problem, how to preserve privacy while performing workflows in operations and analytics. Who's going to do that for everybody else? There's about 100 plus companies here who are trying to compete with or build on or partner with companies like Apple. They all need a similar tech stack. None of them have 30 engineers just lying around. So we said, what if privacy had an API? With a simple API call, you actually get the same set of technologies that these large companies have assembled over a decade plus, and you just pay for what you use. So that's basically the idea behind Skyflow. Our core innovation is something called polymorphic data encryption, which is a fancy way of saying we figured out a way for you to be able to protect the data, keep it always encrypted, and yet search on it, run workflows in AI without ever decrypting the data. We can do that today because of zero knowledge proofs and various forms of homomorphic encryption. If you look at every big problem that's been solved for humanity, it's always required companies to work together. When it was electricity, there was one company that would build the electricity machines, the electric motors, the electric generators, but never lasts because it takes literally hundreds of thousands of people working with different ideas to come together. And so we, as a community of fintech founders, financial services companies have all come together to solve this very simple problem for the consumer. All I want as a consumer is a safe, trusted place where I can keep my money, grow my money, use my money. To keep my money, it has to be transferred, which requires cooperation between fintechs. It requires data sharing, hopefully with privacy. To grow my money, it requires, again, investments, custodianship, someone keeping track of who owns Apple shares and who owns Bitcoin, again requiring a lot of intercompany exchange of identity data, payments data, monetary data, custodial information, and all of that today is happening on FTP, technology that we don't even use to transfer our kids' photos. So why would we use that technology today to actually power the ecosystem? So I think with an API-first economy, it's become easy to partner. When we signed up our partnerships with likes of Alloy and Plaid and Sardine and Visa, it didn't take us years of going on stage and talking about it only to release a small demo 5 years later. We actually first built it and then talked about it. So we just announced a spate of partnerships and we're looking forward to doing more. In fact, Money20 has been so amazing, we've literally signed 3 partnerships while we are here at the event. So I can't wait to come here next year and sign another 30. Oh, we have seen almost nothing. We've seen dozens of IPOs of companies like Robinhood and SoFi and others. But I think we all feel it. When you actually go to a store, when you actually go to a bank, how many of our transactions are actually online today? I think in the next 5 years, enabled by API, privacy-preserving data sharing, and some fundamental breakthroughs in technology at the layer of computation, secure elements, new kinds of cryptography, it's going to unlock an ecosystem that we've never imagined, and it's going to boggle our mind that we used to do payments by revealing my date of birth, or I used to submit my tax forms by revealing my social security number, or that we used to try and exchange data with each other by just giving the bank everything they know about me. It's going to be insanely simpler and all enabled by new technology. So I just can't wait to see how that happens.